Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. From Phoenix, Arizona, I'm Chris Worden.
Andy Jones-Wilkins.
And Aaron Barber.
And we are here to recap a couple of things. First, we're going to talk about the Damn Good Run 26K, and then about the Sonoran Desert Cup overall, the Cactus Cup, where we have now crowned our Cactus King and Queen. First of all, Aaron, as race director, I saw the registration numbers, and they were huge.
Yeah. We got up to 750 people with race days.
Dang.
There were people online watching the live stream, because we live streamed the race, that were in awe of the fact that we had over 700 runners for a local race. I mean, this is still at its heart a local race. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people, but I think that, you know, when you talk about the quote circuit, as I like to call it, for the local races that are, you know, have established an annual presence, it's not the production that a Heavenly 100 or a Black Canyon or a Cocodona is. It's definitely still, even at its heart, you know, despite the numbers, a local race.
Yeah, and it doesn't even feel big to me. Like you think like Frenzy, Coldwater, the big events with planning, and then you're like, oh wow, Damn Good Run's the second biggest event that I direct.
It's cool too because, excuse me, the time of year, you know, it's fully into spring, even sort of starting to get hot into summer, but longer days. And I think it's just one of those things where people are just like kind of wanting to register on a whim. They can.
To that end,
excuse me,
I was out there doing the live stream, and one of the things that I've always just associated with Damn Good Run is that it's usually the first or second really hot race of the year. That was not the case this year.
Correct. On Thursday, I remember thinking this might be the coldest I've ever been course marking, and of course marked hundreds of miles for Aravaipa. But the wind coming off the lake, it was in the low 40s and very windy, and I did not have the appropriate jackets for course marking. And then that cold, it warmed up a little bit towards Sunday, but it was chilly.
Also, what's unique about Damn Good Run versus like pretty much every Aravaipa race is that the longest distance is the 40K. There's no ultras.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
So what's it like to be able to like wrap things up in a whole single day?
Like home at 6 p.m. And,
right.
Really when the sun is up, was different. It's nice.
Yeah, I can imagine, because like, you know, a lot of times with a race that, you know, maybe ends at, you know, 6, 7 p.m., you know, for the early ones, that you're still not getting done and out of the park until like 10 p.m. or later.
Oh yeah, most of them 10 p.m. cutoff for 50 milers. So it's usually the goal is like we can be wheels down or wheels up before midnight. It's a win.
So Aaron, what kind of break do you get now in your workload? Because it's been a haul pretty. I mean, small little break around the holidays, I guess, between Frenzy. But what kind of break
still
do you
working
get?
Tucson Marathon across the years, but. I direct 15 or 16 events overall, and it's really winter loaded, obviously. But now through October, I direct 3 events. So the 2 Flagstaff races and Tushers, officially directing them. But I'll be obviously all hands on deck for Cocodona. I'll be doing some course marking for Whiskey Basin this weekend, and then I usually take a few trips to Colorado and New Hampshire and help out with races up there.
But it's nice that you don't have that. The ultimate responsibility of being the race director.
Just a worker.
Right.
Sometimes I'll jump in and run myself.
Right.
Hey, Jordan, if we can pivot to my laptop shot, we did live stream the race, and I just want to show people like what the conditions were like out there. It was gorgeous. The skies were
running.
You know, the park was, you know, just the kind of conditions that you just hope to run in. When I got out there, I was actually wearing a t-shirt and shorts for the live stream, and I know you, AGW,
I would have double puffied.
You would have been double puffy with a sleeping bag and everything, but you can see, like, basically this was kind of the backdrop for a lot of the races out there. Some of them go actually down below the dam.
You're looking up to the Bradshaw Mountains right there, excuse me. And for those who don't know, this is the Agua Fria River is dammed, and it creates Lake Pleasant.
And you can see the water levels are still pretty low, but at the same time, it was, you know, like it's a unique opportunity. You don't get a lot of runs in Arizona, like around lakes, at least on our courses.
Oh yeah.
So you can see, we definitely had a great time out there, and thanks to all of the follow cams on bikes, on foot. We had drone operators out there. Shooting, some nice shots out there. And
a great conclusion to the Sonoran Desert Cup, a wonderful kind of location to do it, time to do it. Very celebratory.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Jordan. But yeah, that was a truly great experience. And I guess we can just kind of step right into what happened in the race itself.
Yeah.
On the women's side, we weren't sure if Megan Kupris was going to be there, and we weren't sure if Elsa McDonald was going to be there. It turns out that neither one of them were, and that's not to take away with what happened out there. But Nicole Hansen, Aravaipa Racing Team member, as most of us predicted, came away with the win there at the 26K.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have mattered if they did show up. Nicole was on a mission, and she was pretty significantly faster than Megan's course record from 2 years
she
ago.
beat Megan's course record by almost 5 minutes from a few years ago.
Well, and even Devin Nihil in second place went under the previous course record time. And I got to say, I got to go all the way back to Cave Creek Thriller, Chris, when you did your research and you spotted Devin Nihil with a really, really fast half marathon time and virtually maybe no ultra sign up results.
Yeah, no, she didn't have any.
And I would say, while she didn't race enough to qualify for the series, she's kind of one of the main stories of the series, I think, with, coming from a East Coast lacrosse background and jumping into the sport. And as we know, in a couple of days, running her first ultra up at Whiskey Basin, I think in the 60K, a great story of this and kind of how you can make your way, use the Aravaipa, wonderful set of races to sort of make your way into the sport.
Absolutely. And in third place was somebody who had a little bit of a backstory there. Audrey Encinas, who was running her first trail race, but is no stranger to this community. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So Audrey Encinas, Jordan, can we pull up that picture?
20 years old, by the way.
Yes, 20 years old. So left to right, that's Devin Nihil, Nicole Hansen, and Audrey Encinas. And Audrey is a legacy in this local ultra running community. Her mother is Laura Rayburn, and locally, Laura Rayburn has been, posting podium finishes for 15 years, like basically since Aravaipa's inception. And so now her daughter, just at the age of 20, is carving out her own niche and
awesome.
her own story here. So, and we got a chance to interview her after the race, and she was super bubbly, excited. And I have to say, like, when she first walked over and Laura was following behind her, carrying her stuff, I looked over and I kind of like pointed at both of them, putting it together in my head. And I've known Laura for over 10 years. And when I kind of put it together, I realized, oh my goodness, I remember seeing, your kid like at local events and then maybe at, all over social media, like, and she's out there doing hikes with the kid and everything. And now it's, now the next generation is here.
That's fantastic. 20 years old too.
Yeah, 20 years old. And she made no bones about it. She wants to run ultras. She wants to be fast. She wants to be a contender. Nice. So it's going to be fun to follow her career. Audrey Encinas at the age of 20.
That's pretty great.
Somebody that we're going to be following in the future here. Switching to the men's race, we had a lot of familiar faces there.
Oh, yeah.
Like basically the top 10 there were no strangers and no surprises there. If we look at the results, so our top finisher in the men's race was Jordan Bramblett, and Michael Tom Chaney, Julian Couillou rounding out the podium. All three of them very familiar faces, and even you look down.
Oh my gosh, I'm just saying. I mean, a who's who of
the
local scene.
Like the whole
right
season
there,
is basically represented in the first dozen names: Jordan Bramblett, Michael Tom Chaney, Couillou, Gallagher, Watson, Houghton, Kiewit, Dorsey, Boucher, Roeder. I mean, Cyan was not racing in the series, but
even as far down as Devin Sharps, who probably didn't have his best day, but he's been in a bunch of the races also.
Yeah, Nathaniel Chan. These are all names that we've gotten to follow over the past 6 months as part of the Sonoran Desert Cup chase. So now that and Jordan Bramblett definitely was our pick going in.
Yeah.
And I don't think we were all that surprised that he came away winning. And you said you talked with Julian after the race about his experience racing.
Yeah, he says he's legit. He said,
I talked to Julian too. He said, you guys were right. That Jordan is a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked really good out there, and I know that it sounds like he's dropping into a race this weekend.
Yeah, he'll be running the 91K at Whiskey Basin.
Oh, right
So,
on.
So
that'll be
good
a
for
fun
him.
one.
But while Jordan did win the race, he is not our Cactus King.
Correct. He didn't run any qualifying races.
Yeah.
But yeah, he jumped in on this one. So he won the damn good run. But Julian was ultimately the Cactus King with
Yeah.
the third place finish.
Of course,
So there's Julian's Cactus King trophy, I think, in his left hand, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Michael Tom Chaney finishing second. Michael had run a few races here, like in the series, but not as part of the
Yeah.
Sonoran
Ran
Desert
at
Cup.
Coldwater and at Copper Corridor.
Yeah. So he ran the 50K, I believe, at Copper Corridor.
Yes,
wasn't it?
and
Yeah.
the 40K, or what did he, something at Coldwater, 40 or 60K,
Yeah.
I want to say.
So, shout out and congratulations to Nicole Hansen, who did scoop both awards
Yes.
with the Cactus Queen and the race championship itself. I did ask her if she had any royal decrees or after her victory, and she said basically, if I'm paraphrasing here, go out and enjoy the trails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a very fitting decree. So, but all in all, Aaron, how did the series go?
It was fun. It was interesting. I think there's some tweaks we want to make for next year. But I enjoyed it. I liked focusing on the sub ultra distance and kind of consolidating the talent into one race for the most part. So it was fun to see some good racing.
Yeah, Chris, when I think back to it was late summer when Matt Feldick reached out to us, the marketing director here at Aravaipa, reached out to us to explain the overall concept of a two-part series, showcasing a couple of things. First, the sub ultra distance, which I've been arguing now for over a year is really an incredible growth area of the sport of trail running. And the second piece of showcasing the beautiful regional parks that we have scattered around the valley, as two key goals, and then doing, pre-show and post-show and 3 or 4, I think we ended up doing 4 live streams, really, really, achieve those goals. And for a year one idea of something that's going to last 6 months, 7 months, really, with consolidated with one race director in events that also have several other distances, I think the goals were achieved. And I think as the dust settles on this, I'm already looking forward to what year 2 of the Sonoran Desert Cup might hold.
Yeah, I don't know if my input holds any weight, but like one of the things that I would like to see moving forward is maybe because the ideal is that you've got 10 men and 10 women in each season qualifying for the Sonoran Desert Cup. And maybe like rather than, for instance, like we had some people who qualified at the very back of the pack for the championship, maybe not necessarily that you have to earn points in multiple races, but you just have to participate in multiple races. Like that way, if you have a good day and you sneak in with a few points, I would like to see all 10 slots on both seasons filled.
Yes, that's for sure. We've thrown around the idea of like winning an event is an auto qualifier and then rolling it down to like the next in terms of points and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And then, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think there's tremendous opportunity. And I think already looking at 700 plus people in the Damn Good Run, I think you've got participation, and not that the Sonoran Desert Cup necessarily led to the increased participation, but participation and sharing the trails with a lot of people and celebrating community has always been goal number 1 of Aravaipa Running. And I think this series has been an absolute gem of an indicator of that.
Well, and this season, I mean, think about all of the crazy names that we had dropping into random races out here, across the board. I mean, you had Jim Walmsley show up at a race. You had Amanda Basham show up at a race. You had
Elsa McDonald show up at a couple. Eric LaPluma.
Yeah, I mean, you have like some of the best runners, Scott Trayer, like, some of the best runners in the world, and in the American trail running scene showing up for a training race here and there. Why not dangle that carrot just a little bit to bring them back in here? And it's across all distances too. That's one of the cool things about it is that, we are very fortunate to have the infrastructure that we have here with Aravaipa to, offer, six different distances is a lot of events, and that way there's something for everybody. And it could be, maybe somebody like, a Jake Jackson coming out to Mesquite Canyon and doing the 50 miler, or it could be, somebody like, Bree Grigsby dropping into the 13K at Damn Good Run this weekend.
Meltzer and Browning coming out to
Yeah,
Coldwater. Yep.
absolutely. And so that's one of the things. Obviously, that's not necessarily speaking to the Sonoran Desert Cactus Cup itself, but it kind of speaks to what we've got here in the community. So, Aaron, with that said, what's up next for you from a race director standpoint?
Planning right now. Right now, Tushers. It's Big Pine is my next race to direct. That's pretty much buttoned up. New course on that one for the 50K. Check that out one.
Nice.
But Tushers, half the course got burned down last year, so I just had meetings with National Forest, and we're working on what the actual routes will be. So that's kind of crunch time for me to get those posted.
Well, Chris, Big Pine, I'm not sure you're doing it this year. It might be pretty close to Western States, but that's one of your favorites. It's a great excuse to get up to the pine trees.
I'm doing the double.
You are doing that. You are the double. The Big Pine Western States double.
The double 6K there. I do the blackout night runs and then the Big Pine day runs the next
Talk
day.
a little bit about Big Pine, though, because it's I know you enjoy it every year.
Yeah, Big Pine is a great weekend. So for those that aren't familiar, basically you've got two runs back to back. You've got a Friday night run called Blackout, and you've got a 6K, 13K, and I believe 27K.
Yep.
And they're a pretty truncated version of the loop out there. So I mean, it's
from Fort Todd Hill.
Yeah, from yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you. From Fort Todd Hill, just outside of Flagstaff. And it's beyond the actual racing. I mean, obviously you have Blackout the night before, Big Pine the day on Saturday, and they've got the same distances basically, but with a 50K thrown in. But for me, one of my favorite things about it is just the whole weekend surrounding it. I mean, we get up there Friday morning. There's a communal camping area, and usually like that's kind of almost the inside joke amongst me and a lot of our friends that go up there, like trying to get there first to get the best spot between those trees, or just far enough from the porta potty but close enough that you don't have to necessarily hike across to get to it from in the middle of the night. And then when you get done with, the two races, I always race shorter on Saturday because there is a beer festival on the premises right across the parking lot.
Yep.
And that's one of those things. It's a value add of like the highest degree there. So, that's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite weekends of the year. And, even though I am teetotaling until States, I still think it'll be a good time.
Yeah.
So
Right on.
So what do you have coming up?
Cocodona. And I love, we need to talk about the Cocodona live stream in a bit, but I did miss the damn good run broadcast because I was up on the course doing 3 days of training. I did 90 miles of the course. I did want to see, and a small group and I did see two of the new sections that are talked about a lot. And I think if any Cocodona runners are watching or listening, you might want to keep this in mind. The new section out of Sedona through the Hangover Trail has some I don't want to call it scrambling, but certainly some exposed slick rock sections. It's not gonna be very long, but it's about a mile or two. I'd say closer to 2, where there's some spots where it's exposed. You might even need to have your hands out to sort of trundle up. You got to just follow white dots across the slick rock, so it could be tricky, especially at night. And then due to the Mexican spotted owl, the end has been somewhat switched, which has a plus and a minus in my view. The plus is that the final climb up Eldon is now much more gradual on the Hart Trail and another trail, the name I'm forgetting, but the descent is now down the Eldon Lookout Trail instead of the traditional road. So the descent down from Eldon is going to be really hard at 148 miles on your legs. So seeing
248
or 248, I'm blacking that out. But seeing those and running those in person before the race, I think is a good sort of psychological. And then I participated in the Saturday morning or Saturday all day start run, the run from the start to Crown King, because it's just brutal, and it's still brutal.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I mean, I am somewhat concerned about that Sedona section. I saw some of the photos and people posted video of like other examples. Like I saw a mountain bike trying to traverse that hangover trail. Yeah, a hard pass for me on that one.
No, it's definitely one where, like, if you're using poles, you need to put your poles away for that section because you really need to have your hands ready to go. It's not like, you know, rock climbing, but it's definitely something. And I want to say this, Chris, for the live stream, and I talked about this with the group all weekend long. I think I would not be surprised if times from start to finish are in general slower. In large part because of these two sections. You know, we saw some incredible performances last year. We know that, you know, we have Courtney DeWalter coming and we have some very high profile athletes coming, but regardless of your skills and talents, you know, navigating a couple of these sort of new sections, as well as two 16-mile pacerless sections. Oh, that's, by the way, another thing we did at least the one 16-mile pacerless section from a new aid station at Foxborough Ranch to Munns Park, you know, and that comes late in the race and all of a sudden you've had a pacer for, you know, a day and a half. And it's like, okay, now you get to go out without a pacer for a while. Have fun. You know, so I think there'll be little subtle things like that where you might see as you're going through the broadcast, time's just a little bit slower. And I'll be very curious about, you know, some of our legacy runners, the veterans who've done it, you know, 4 times already, like Jeff Garmeyer and Wes Plate, how they are going to be very new for them as well.
That's an interesting thing to talk about, the fact that you go from like having a pacer to not having a pacer, and then like later on you can pick one up again. I think we're probably going to have a situation where a lot of people just simply buddy up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So as a Coconut veteran, what do you think of the course changes?
I was surprised that hangover got added. I love that kind of stuff though. Like if you know Tushers at all, that's kind of my kind of race. And yeah, I like the gnarly stuff, but I was surprised that it was added for Cocodona with runners going it over that trail 24 hours a day and that late in the race.
Yeah, and going for it's a very popular Sedona hike and so forth. I mean, let's be clear, it's not, you know, insane.
No one's gonna fall.
No one's, you know, right.
Like that,
but especially choosing to go in the clockwise direction around it, you know, about 3/4 of the way around the loop, you know, it's gonna be tricky. So I mean, it's fun. And by the way, once you get out of it and you begin the climb proper up to the Coconino Plateau, that as well is a lot shallower than the old Kasner Canyon climb. So, you know, there's some pluses and minuses about the changes.
Yeah. And then buddy up on those pacerless section. That's exactly what happened to me. It was actually with West Plate. Going down from Jerome, neither of us had a pacer, so we're like, okay, let's go. Let's do this.
And it's together. Legit 256 miles. Doesn't quite have the same ring as Cocodona 250, but I'm going to put in an appeal for the name change, Cocodona 256.
Of course, that will be taking place the first full week of May. I believe that's May 5th is the actual start date.
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
So I remember that because I'll be heading up to Flagstaff on May 3rd. Myself and Aid Station Fireball are going to meet up Saturday morning and then drive up so we can get some extra time in town. However, on Mountain Outpost, that will not be our next live stream. We have one in between.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So the Lake Sonoma 50 is going to be live streamed this coming weekend.
In a few days.
Yeah. Like Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. So basically Saturday, we're going to have the crew heading out. We just saw our director, Zach Marion, you know, in the building here and probably getting things together to load up the van and to head out to California to, you know, live stream what is, you know, a classic American race. Can you tell us about the Lake Sonoma 50?
Lake Sonoma 50 was founded by Tropical John Medinger and his wife, Lisa, and it is in outside of Healdsburg, California, and it's relentlessly rolling, smooth, buttery single track around in the area around Lake Sonoma, a large dammed lake in that region of Sonoma County. And it's been a traditional race for people to just go and, you know, hit it hard in this early season. A great tune up for races like Western States and Leadville and so forth. And so it's always drawn kind of a strong field. Some years it's been pretty wet. I don't think they've had a whole lot of rain this year. So should be fast and fun.
Well, I think that kind of brings things full circle here. Of course, yeah, you can tune into the Mountain Outpost YouTube channel this coming weekend to catch the Lake Sonoma live stream. I won't be there. I don't know. Are you going to be there? Or?
No, I got Whiskey Basin.
That's right.
One more Cocodona tune-up.
I'll be at Whiskey Basin as well.
We're all headed to Whiskey.
All headed to Whiskey
Are
Basin.
you running or are you working?
Yes to both. I'm of course marking like 20 miles, and I'm signed up for the 91K, and hopefully can make the start line. Still kind of dealing with an ankle roll thing. I ran yesterday though, so
I'm doing the 91K in full Cocodona mode. So
Okay.
poles, heavy pack.
Yeah.
Just time on my feet.
I was going to do the 91K, but then I realized it probably just would be a little bit too much for a single day run at this point in my training. So I'm going to drop down to the 60K.
Good call.
Because I've also got basically a 3K vert challenge the next day that I've been assigned, and I don't think I want to do that after a 58-mile run.
That's a good double, though.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, 60K is longer than 50, so
This is
it's
true.
37-ish miles. So,
It's a marathon or 2 or 3 or 4, not a sprint.
Yeah.
So with that, I think we can put a bow on the Cactus Cup and the Sonoran Desert Cup series.
Absolutely.
So thanks for tuning in, folks, and we'll see you soon here on the Aravaipa and Mountain Outpost YouTube channels.
Cheers.
We'll see ya.